Welcome back to the live stream and this exclusive chat I'm very excited to have with our newly crowned 4 Planet Prize International Champions. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We were expecting 3, we got 4. They obviously couldn't decide, so they split it between you two. So from left to right, here we go. Over there I have Professor Carlos Perez from the University of East Anglia in the UK, Professor Mark New from the University of Cape Town, South Africa, Dr. Paul Burns from Leiden University in Netherlands, Professor Bao Jinghu from Zhejiang University, China. Welcome, international champions. Very exciting to say that. How does it feel, Paul, to have that title?
It's astonishing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's kind of overwhelming. This is not usually a prize that you get in the environmental sciences. So, it being the inaugural prize, it's sort of getting your head around that a little bit as well.
Yeah, Mark, you were saying when you came in, I said, how are you feeling? I just still don't believe it.
Still, I mean, yeah, we've known, I think, for a week or two, but I still feel like somebody's going to take it away.
Yeah.
It's like a rude joke, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and they're going to be laughing at the door.
You've got that trophy looked pretty big and heavy, Carlos.
Yeah, very heavy. No, it's a huge honor because in the kind of stuff that we do, there are no major awards or prizes. It's not like some other fields of science. So it's a great honor to be the recipient of one of these in the inaugural Frontiers.
Yeah, and obviously there were 100 national champions. They couldn't decide, right? So you guys, as they expanded it, how'd that feel, Bao, knowing that you?
I think it's great to encourage the scientists. We can work in the area of Earth system. We're trying to protect the Earth in a way. This is a great chance, us to know the Earth science, know the environment. It's a great platform that we can encourage scientists working hard to make a better future.
And now we know, it's being repeated next year. So if anyone's watching this, get those applications in. Let me do a research-specific question. Let's go down the line. Let's start with you, Carlos. So your work in the Amazon shows for the first time that community-based conservation programs can help rural families living in protected areas to escape from poverty and see real improvements to their livelihoods. I understand you've been working in the area since 1987. How difficult was it to get the trust of those local communities at that time? And have you seen that change while you've been there? Are local people now more enthusiastic about conservation?
Definitely. I mean, the local communities in the Amazon are not particularly difficult to work with if you are talking to them on the same playing field, same language. But in the last 37 years, since I started working there, I've seen a huge kind of nonlinear transition from general distrust to a lot of cooperation. So there's been quite a huge transition. So it's like the differences between night and day. So in relation to our program where we work, which is about 1/3 of a river base in one of the major tributaries of the Amazon, the Juruá, we've been able to accumulate a huge amount of social capital and trust from those communities, which is, of course, heavily facilitated by these co-benefits. So if they are getting something out of it, then they have a huge incentive and motivation, and the level of engagement has been huge. Remember that these people are there all year round, 24/7. So they are the most effective guardians of their own resources. And that's what we've seen. So once we've worked out the rules of engagement, the fisheries agreements, so we're now involved in managing about 450 lakes. These are not small lakes, these are huge lakes. Wow. And we basically have 3 categories of harvesting. And everybody more or less knows where they're supposed to fish, where they're not supposed to fish, and the partitioning between commercial and subsistence fishing, and so forth. So yes, they are much more engaged and happy to continue with this program.
Yeah, and as you say, now you've got that kind of playbook, that approach.
Yeah.
That can be shared with other researchers as well, at other places around the world, to kind of think about the sensitivities and the best ways to work with the local communities. And you said in your acceptance speech, you said, I kind of dedicate this to those local communities, which I thought was wonderful.
Sure. Yeah, because there are virtually no tropical wilderness areas that are not human occupied. I mean, they might be sparsely settled, but there are people everywhere. And in many ways, they are the best guardian of the resource. Their use of the resource is very benign compared to a power vacuum, for example. If there is no one there, then the private sector will take care of those territories, and they'll come in with much more predatory forms of land use. As it's happening throughout the Brazilian Amazon, including farmers and cattle ranchers and loggers and gold miners and land grabbers and everything else. So it's about filling the space, but in a sustainable development way.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Klaus. Mark, on to you then. You've showed that clearing non-native trees out of river catchments in South Africa would have helped to reduce the effects of a 3-year drought that threatened to see dams literally almost run dry. Can you speak a little to what it was like to live through that drought and then what you hope to do as a result of your work?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting experience, sort of being embedded in a local manifestation of a planetary crisis, if you like. I think there are a couple of things that spring to mind. The first is it feels very strange moving from being in a house with unlimited water to having to shower in a bucket and use the bucket to refill your toilet because you're restricted to using 50 litres of water a day. But the second part of it was that it was amazing how a city of essentially 7 million people actually responded in water saving. And at the peak of the drought, the water use in that city was half of what it was prior to the drought. So it actually reduced the overall demand on the stressed system by 50%.
And do you think any of the systems that were put in place to deal with that reduced amount of water have stuck around?
So we've seen a little bit of a rebound, but the current sort of peak of summer demand, which is the dry season, is at about 75% of what it was before. So there's been a bit of a rebound, but a lot of the adaptations that were made were sort of things that have remained in place. So a lot of the more the wealthier households put in boreholes or grey water recycling systems. You had to have a cover for your swimming pool to stop evaporation. So some of those are going to be sort of permanent. I think everybody's back to having a slightly longer shower and not showering in a bucket. But the other thing is that the drought itself impacted very variably. So Johan was talking about equity and justice, and actually, there were communities in some of the informal settlements who didn't even notice there was a drought because they don't have water at any time.
Right,
so for them, the drought, what drought? It's about time the rich people had a bit of trouble because we've been struggling for so long.
Yeah.
So it did also highlight and bring to the fore how inequitable some of the resource allocation actually is, even within a single city, never mind across a country. South Africa is one of the most unequal countries in the world. I think we're the winner of the Gini inequality index competition. We just beat Brazil. So just sort of, you really experience that on the ground of what inequality actually means, and that really, I think, is important to bear in mind.
Yeah. And with your research on the impact of the clearing the non-native trees, what do you think is going to come as a result of that work?
Well, there's been quite a lot happening already. So the drought really stimulated the setting up, not through anything we had done, although we were involved as technical advisors, but the Nature Conservancy have these funds called water funds. And those are funds that are set up with a mix of different investments to actually invest in catchment restoration. So the Cape Town Water Fund was set up in the height of the drought to really try and provide longer-term sustainable finance to continue with the clearing work and then also to maintain those catchments. Because the problem with clearing these aliens is you clear them, 3 years later, they're back again because the seeds are all in the ground.
Yeah.
And these things grow so much faster than the natural vegetation that you actually have to, this clearing and maintenance has to continue for 20 or 30 years after the initial clearing. Otherwise, you're just sort of taking one step forward and then 2 steps back again.
Right. Thanks so much. So much I want to know about that. We don't have time to talk about this for hours. I'm keeping you from your cocktails. Paul, we've been hearing for some time that we need to eat a lot less meat, that eating more plants will save the climate. Your research puts a number on that. It says what the reduction would be in carbon emissions, the extra carbon sequestration that would happen. I'm guessing you're a vegetarian now after this. Maybe were you before you started?
Yeah, I was before I
Okay.
started, but I came fairly late. You know, I ate meat for sort of several decades, and then started to shift towards vegetarian, and on that journey going closer and closer and closer to vegan. And you know, the message is now it's not a story of abstinence. It's not a story of cutting meat out. There's so many interesting opportunities. There's so many interesting flavors out there now. It's nice to be here where all of the food has been sort of delicious, a vegetarian or vegan food. And I don't know what you thought about it, but it's delicious and it's exciting and it's exploration. You know, it's not cutting things off. It's about exploring new things.
Do you think that this research, if communicated well, could lead to a greater shift in the public's kind of behaviour and thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, it has to. Even if we're to do an entire energy system transition, the food system on its own will be enough to push us beyond 1.5 of 2 degrees. It's the biggest driver of biodiversity loss, the biggest driver of aquatic death in ecosystems due to the nutrient runoff. In the Amazon, for example, it's the largest, by far, the largest driver of Amazon deforestation, either directly through cattle ranching or through the soy that we feed to the animals. I mean, just the list goes on. So when you think about then turning that around to the opportunities, you think, well, animal agriculture is taking up so much land on the planet. That's basically parks for everyone. You know, it's parks all around you. It's biodiversity all around you. If you're able to save that land and return it to nature, and it also allows us to deal with the blows of climate change, because that land's going to be much better at absorbing floodwaters, at dealing with droughts. You know, so if it's done well,
Yeah.
So these messages, I think, is really important about having not only just we need to make this shift, but what you get for that. And what you get for that is so many other wonderful things that's good for health and good for the planet.
And what's your plan off the back of this research? Where's it going to lead? How are you going to use the fund that you've been given?
Yeah, so we're going to develop a rapid food transitions lab. You know, we need to move so fast, really, just so fast. Jane Goodall's speech there was to the point about how rapid and scary things are changing. And we've kind of got to use that, because we know that in the next 10 to 20 years, things are going to get quite difficult. You know, we are going to see more and more stresses on the food system. So we need to be there with the answers. We need to be there with the policies to allow for the shift, to make sure everybody comes along on that change. And this is mostly high-income nations. You know, this is mostly those nations that we need to target, that we need to change, and sequence the policy so nobody's left out. So as we change our diets, the producers change as well.
Yes, because of course it's the whole food system, isn't it, that needs to be changed. It's that global approach, as Johan was talking about.
Yeah, exactly, and that includes things like subsidies. It includes like even power within the food system. It includes so many different things. So we're going to use the money to develop this rapid transition lab to investigate some of these accelerating social tipping points as well. So as people start to adopt, we know that between 15 and 40% of people adopting a minority view can flip the majority. You get to a tipping point in society, and you can actually change what the prevailing habits are. So how do you accelerate those changes, or how do you encourage those changes? How do you model those changes over time?
Fascinating. And it will contribute to so many other areas as well.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Thanks, Paul. I'll watch with interest. Baojing, hi.
Okay, hi.
You created a map of how nitrogen emissions contribute to a dangerous type of air pollution around the world. What got you interested in studying air pollution as a particular focus for your research, especially nitrogen pollution?
I think for nitrogen, it's very important in the sense we know that the high-proportion nitrogen fixation is a great innovation that they feed about half of global population. That means if without nitrogen fertilizer, the people will only half compared to today. So that's a very strong, beneficial to the whole society. But meanwhile, we know that when we produce food, the nitrogen loss to the environment leading to air pollution, water pollution, biodiversity loss, soil acidification, even greenhouse gas emission. So all these negative consequences, air pollution is contribute a large share. They leading to human health damage. They leading to premature death. Currently, air pollution is I think lists the number 4 for the top number 4 causes to human premature death on global scales. So that means, but nitrogen currently contributes to a large share to global air pollution. So we need to focus on that. And currently we have an international system we call International Nitrogen Management System. It's under managed by UNEP, and we a group of scientists we trying to do global international nitrogen assessment. And there's a book. And the book will be, I think the book will price later this year or maybe next year. And there's a huge book, and we do the cost benefit of a nitrogen loss to the environment to all aspects, not only air pollution but also water pollution, biodiversity, all the issues. So you will see that air pollution contribute to the largest share.
Well, congratulations, because they commented on the rigor of the science in your research. So I was like, good job, good job.
Okay.
Thank you all so much for coming and talking to me. I mustn't get in the way of your cocktail any further, I feel. All words will be had.
Or your cocktail.
Or my cocktail, very good point. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you to, I should say that you're all doing presentations tomorrow. 3 o'clock, isn't it? 3 o'clock, and we're in Central European summertime here. So make sure you join the team 3 o'clock tomorrow for their presentations on the main stage. We'll be live streaming that. Please do join the conversation. You can use #FrontiersForum. That is it from day one of the Frontiers Forum Live. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed lots of the exclusive behind-the-scenes content. If you've missed any today and you want to go back and watch it, we'll be putting up clips, and we'll be linking in the app to where you can go back and watch all the various sessions from earlier today. I'll see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock, Central European Summertime, for more backstage exclusives and behind-the-scenes content. Have a lovely evening.